The Genius Club with Prairie Pine. Chapter 44. History. Emma was also a little surprised. She remembered that a few days ago, when Alex went to the hospital to visit Gloria Hughes, Ethan had told Alex not to come to him again. She had thought this matter would end there, but now Ethan's attitude. He was actually so respectful and polite to Alex, which really made her puzzled. Emma had originally wanted to persuade Ethan, but seeing how he looked, she guessed he couldn't wait a second longer, so she gave up. "Very well, Professor Hughes. Please, follow me," she said, stepping aside to signal Ethan to leave the VIP room. "Alex's office is on the 17th floor. I'll take you there right away." Ethan nodded, walked out without any hesitation, and followed Emma into the elevator. The elevator doors closed and it began to rise. The three vice presidents and Mark stood at the door of the VIP room, still not recovering from their shock just now. The four of them looked at each other, their expressions uneasy, and one of the vice presidents finally spoke up, stammering, "What on earth is going on here?" Professor Hughes is a respected man, always calm and steady. "This is the first time I've seen him so flustered, as if he's seen a ghost," he added, and the other two vice presidents and Mark echoed in succession. "In the past, we struggled a lot just to get a meeting with Professor Hughes. It's really incredible that he came here in person like this today. And Professor Hughes even wants to go upstairs to find Alex in person. What kind of treatment is that?" one of them murmured, while another shook his head and said, "It can't be for Ryan Cat, right? That would be too ridiculous." Ding! The elevator arrived at the 17th floor and opened with a chime. Alex's office door was open, and Emma led Ethan straight in. "Alex, Professor Hughes is here to see you," she said. And Alex, who was adjusting the Ryan Cat model on his computer, turned his head, seeing Ethan looking at him with a complicated expression. He naturally guessed Ethan's purpose and smiled slightly. "Professor, long time no see. How's your research going?" "It's going well, very well," Ethan said, not knowing what to say. He hesitated for a moment, then turned to look at Emma, who immediately understood his intention. Emma pointed at Alex and introduced him to Ethan gently. "Professor, this is Alex. You two met before." "Well, we won't disturb you then. We'll leave first. If you need anything, just call me. I'll be waiting outside." With that, she turned around, left, and closed the office door behind her. Ethan walked over, locked the office door directly, and then approached Alex slowly. "Alex, thank you for calling me Professor. I hope you won't mind my attitude before," he said sincerely, and Alex shook his head, indicating that he didn't mind at all. "Professor, since you came here to find me today, you must have read the manuscript I gave you, right? How is the content on it? Did it help you?" Alex asked, and Ethan nodded firmly, telling Alex everything that had happened last night, in every detail. "Your manuscript is completely correct. Thanks to you, I have completely solved the ice crystal problem," Ethan said, his voice filled with gratitude. "Now, I'm only one step away from completing the hibernation chamber filling liquid that can be actually used. It's just..." He looked embarrassed and hesitated to speak. Alex wondered why Ethan suddenly fell silent and encouraged him softly. "What's wrong, Professor? There's no one else here. Feel free to say whatever you want." Ethan nodded, his expression becoming serious. "Alex, I have a request," he said, pausing for a moment before asking earnestly and sincerely. "Can you tell me where this manuscript came from?" Faced with Ethan's question, Alex fell silent. He would definitely not tell Ethan about his dreams, but how could he get around this hard-to-explain question? He thought for a moment, then shook his head gently. Professor, if you still want to get more materials, it's better not to ask too much. When Ethan heard this, countless dangerous thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. He swallowed hard, deciding to put aside his curiosity. After all, his primary goal was to get the correct materials. For now, it seemed that Alex was still willing to help him, so the question of its origin was irrelevant. Thank you for still being willing to help me, Alex. Ethan said it gratefully. Don't worry, no matter what happens in the future, I'll take full responsibility. I will never give you away. Alex nodded and smiled. This was good, as it saved him the trouble of explaining further. Professor, you just said you're only one step away from completing the final hibernation chamber filling liquid. Did you encounter any difficulties? Alex asked, and Ethan replied quickly. In the final stage of developing the hibernation chamber filling liquid, I encountered some difficulties. I suspect that there are some mistakes in the chemical reaction formulas on the manuscript. Oh, that's very possible, Alex said casually. Why don't you mark where the mistakes are? I'll find a chance to check them for you later. Ethan was really surprised by his readiness. He hadn't even put forward the request yet, and Alex had already offered to help. Thinking about being betrayed and abandoned by everyone over the years, Ethan was deeply moved. Alex, I really don't know how to thank you, he said, his voice a little choked. Professor, you're being too polite. It's just a small favor for me, Alex replied gently. Ethan sighed, his eyes filled with determination. Don't worry, Alex. You're a lifesaver to me and Gloria. I will definitely find a way to repay you. He suddenly realized something and added, right. Your company in mix also wants the authorization for that moisturizing chemical substance, doesn't it? I can assure you, once the hibernation chamber filling liquid is successfully developed, I will have no more worries. I can even give you that failed product, Ethan said sincerely, wanting to express his gratitude in a practical way. Later, Ethan took out the manuscript from his handbag, with several obvious mistakes marked in red circles. Alex took the manuscript, put it in the drawer to hide it temporarily, and then promised Ethan that he would bring the new manuscript to him in a few days. Now, he could basically confirm. His dream was indeed real. The world 600 years in the future. This also explained why KK Cat had become Rhine Cat. The butterfly effect of time and space really existed, and even small changes could alter the future drastically. After the two chatted for a few more words, Alex opened the office door. Emma was standing outside, having waited for a long time. Professor Hughes, how did your talk go? Was the matter resolved? She asked politely, with a gentle smile on her face. Ethan walked out with a smile, looking a little embarrassed. I was a bit rude today. Sorry for the disturbance. Emma shook her head, glanced at Alex inside the room and said, You're too polite, Professor Hughes. Our MX company welcomes you anytime. I'll arrange someone to send you back to the university later, and I'll leave you a copy of my business card and Alex's. If you need anything in the future, just contact us directly, she added, showing her full respect for Ethan. Okay, thank you. I drove here myself. Ethan nodded in agreement, picked up his handbag, and hurried to leave. But after thinking about it again, he felt impolite. He had rushed in recklessly and was now leaving in a fluster. He also thought that since he had already promised Alex, it wouldn't hurt to mention one more thing to his boss here. It could also repay Alex's kindness. With that thought, Ethan turned around and looked at Emma seriously. Director Emma, I just told Alex about this. In fact, I have really received a lot of care from Alex during this time, and I have been lucky enough to make great progress in my research. So I'm considering, he paused, organizing his words carefully. If one day my research really makes a qualitative breakthrough, then the worries I told you about before will disappear. That failed chemical substance can even be sold without any problem. For Alex's sake, I will give your company priority. At that time, I will discuss the specific matters with Alex. Emma was a little surprised. This was an unexpected twist. She glanced at Alex, her eyes full of confusion, but she quickly recovered, smiled back at Professor Hughes and said, "That's great, Professor Hughes. It's an honor for our MX company to get your authorization. We sincerely wish your research a breakthrough soon." Alex and Emma sent Professor Hughes to the parking lot and watched him leave. After the car turned the corner and disappeared from sight, Emma chuckled, turned her head and looked at Alex with an interesting expression. "How did you persuade Professor Hughes? He's never been this easy to talk to," she asked curiously. "I didn't say much," Alex replied calmly, shrugging his shoulders. "I just persuaded him a few words." "Persuaded him a few words?" Emma chuckled again, not believing his words at all. "Does Professor Hughes look like someone who is easy to persuade?" Alex scratched the back of his head awkwardly and looked up at the warm winter sun in the sky. "People change, don't they? What in this world doesn't change? Human hearts, society, the present, history, the future. Everything changes. Nothing is permanent." Emma fell silent, nodding non-committally. "You're right, but there's one thing you're wrong about," she said softly. A gust of wind blew, swirling the fallen leaves on the ground, and her black coat fluttered gently in the wind. "History will never change," Emma said, lowering her head, her voice filled with a touch of melancholy. "Victors and losers are already decided." She turned around and walked toward the company building, repeating softly, "History will never change." Whoosh! The winter wind was dry and sharp, swirling the fallen leaves and garbage on the ground into a spinning vortex. Emma walked away, in her high heels, the tapping sound fading away, little by little, until she disappeared around the corner of the parking lot. Alex watched her leave silently, his eyes fixed on the direction she disappeared. "History will change," he muttered to himself, looking at the vortex of fallen leaves on the ground, his voice firm and resolute. Alex naturally knew that the history Emma was talking about was not the same as the history he meant. The history Emma spoke of referred to the history before 2022 today, the fixed past that no one could alter. But the history in Alex's eyes was the history between 2022 and 2624, the future that was supposed to be fixed in his dream. Now that the butterfly effect of time and space had been confirmed to exist, then for the future world 600 years later in his dream, he whispered, "I am history."